vicious types, propelled the girl into the dumpster. Huge blunder. She was a ferocious warrior. Olivia Moreau lingered near the entrance of Crestwood Academy, hugging her faded jean jacket as students rushed past, hardly noticing her presence. Being slight, barely reaching 5'2", with a delicate build that made her appear younger than her age, she kept her auburn hair in a loose braid and her gaze lowered as she navigated the crowded entry hall. After almost a month into the term, she still felt like an outsider in this sprawling domain of classrooms and adolescent pecking orders. Their shift from Montana had been sudden when her father received a promotion at his office. Olivia missed her old gym, missed her trainer, missed the familiar pattern of jogging each morning before school. Here in Maine, she hadn't found a new fitness group yet, and without that activity, she felt uneasy. Even more importantly, she'd promised her dad she'd make an effort to get along at this new place, which meant keeping her 7 years of kickboxing training to herself. Her father feared that Olivia's defense abilities might land her in trouble, especially after the incident at her prior school where she'd defended a younger kid from tormentors. "Just concentrate on your lessons and finding friends," her father had said. "Leave the combat behind." Olivia had nodded, understanding the sense in those words. She'd witnessed how her image as a fighter had isolated her before, how other kids either avoided her or wanted to challenge her. This time would be different. This time, she'd be ordinary. The dining hall echoed with the typical midday mayhem as Olivia discovered a vacant spot near the window. She unwrapped her salad and attempted to ignore the glances from nearby groups. Being the new student was difficult enough without drawing attention for other reasons. She decided to dress plainly, wearing baggy sweaters and hiding her athletic form. Most assumed she was just another reserved, scholarly girl. "Well, well, what do we have here?" a voice called from behind her. Olivia turned to see 3 females heading toward her table. The leader was slim and brunette, with intricately curled hair and costly accessories that screamed wealth. Her name was Tiffany Sinclair, and she controlled the senior grade with a firm hand of social maneuvering. "The fresh face thinks she can sit anywhere she pleases," Tiffany went on, her tone coated with false friendliness. Her 2 companions, Ashley and Megan, chuckled on cue. All 3 females were cheerleaders, prominent and untouchable in the school's social structure. Olivia kept her eyes down. "I'm sorry. I didn't realize this was your spot." "Everything in this room is my spot," Tiffany declared, easing into the seat across from Olivia. "You're new, so perhaps you don't grasp how things are here. Allow me to explain." The dining hall seemed to hush around them, other kids sensing a scene and turning to watch. Olivia felt her cheeks grow warm with humiliation as Tiffany went into a lengthy description of the school's unspoken rules, all created to keep Olivia in her place at the bottom of the ladder. "And another thing," Tiffany added, reaching across the table to grab Olivia's salad. "This is my lunch now. New faces have to work their way up to eating privileges." Olivia's hands balled into fists under the table. She could sense the well-known rush of adrenaline, the muscle memory of years of training begging her to react. But her father's words resounded in her head. She forced herself to unwind, to breathe slowly the way her trainer had instructed her. "Okay," Olivia said softly, gathering her belongings. "I'll find somewhere else to sit." "Actually," Tiffany replied, standing up and blocking Olivia's way, "I think you should eat somewhere more fitting, like outside, with the rest of the trash." The laughter that followed felt like a solid punch. Olivia squeezed past them, her face burning with embarrassment, and spent the remainder of the lunch break in the library. She told herself it was just one situation, that things would improve once she proved she wasn't a risk to their social order. But things didn't improve. Over the following weeks, the torment intensified. Tiffany and her friends made it their aim to make Olivia's life a nightmare. They unintentionally bumped into her in the corridors, dropping her folders onto the floor. They spread rumors about her relatives, claiming her father was a security guard and they resided in a small apartment. They excluded her from group tasks and whispered about her whenever she passed by. The worst part was how everyone else simply watched. Teachers looked away, claiming they didn't see what was happening. Other kids avoided her eyes, grateful it wasn't them in the line of fire. Olivia felt utterly alone, questioning whether keeping her defense skills a secret was worth this daily agony. The last straw came on a Wednesday afternoon in early November. Olivia was walking to her locker after art class when she heard Tiffany's voice echoing off the walls of the almost empty hallway. "There she is," Tiffany announced, appearing around the corner with Ashley and Megan close behind. The little mouse who thinks she's too good to speak to anyone. Olivia tried to walk past them, but Ashley stepped in front of her while Megan moved to block her escape. They'd done this routine before, trapping her in deserted corridors where no staff would see. "We've been thinking," Tiffany said, circling Olivia like a predator, "that perhaps you need a lesson in respect. You've been here for over a month and you still act like you're superior to everyone else." "I just want to be left alone," Olivia answered, her voice barely audible. "That's not how this works," Tiffany retorted. "You don't get to ignore us. You don't get to act like we don't exist." Olivia felt the familiar pressure in her chest, the way her breathing became shallow when she was trying to control her anger. Her trainer had taught her that anger was a tool, but only when used correctly. Right now, she was using every bit of self-control to keep that tool contained. "I'm not ignoring you," Olivia said. "I just don't want any trouble." "Too bad," Tiffany said, "because trouble has found you." What followed would replay in Olivia's memory for days afterward. Tiffany grabbed her shoulder bag and yanked it away, sending Olivia stumbling backward. Ashley seized her arms while Megan grabbed her ankles. Together, they half-carried, half-dragged her toward the large trash container at the far end of the hallway. The air smelled of floor wax and old lunches. "No, please," Olivia pleaded, finally understanding their intent. "Don't do this." But her pleas only seemed to encourage them. Other kids had started to gather, phones out, ready to record her humiliation for social media. Olivia could hear their laughter, their excited whispers about the show they were about to witness. "This is where garbage belongs," Tiffany said as they reached the big metal container. "Maybe next time you'll remember your place." The three females hoisted Olivia up and over the edge of the dumpster. She landed hard on a pile of discarded papers, the impact knocking the air from her lungs. But as she tried to climb out, she realized the sides were too high and too slick. The dumpster was nearly full, and she was trapped. The laughter grew louder as Olivia struggled to find a grip on the smooth metal walls. Ink stains and gooey liquids covered her clothes and hair. The smell was sickening, a mix of rotting food and cleaning fluids that made her eyes sting. "Look at her now," Tiffany said, her voice filled with satisfaction. The little mouse in her natural habitat. Olivia could hear phones clicking, recording her humiliation for everyone to see. Kids were gathering around the dumpster, some laughing, others looking uncomfortable, but doing nothing to help. She felt tears of anger and shame burning her eyes as she continued to slip and slide against the metal walls. "Help me," she cried out, her voice cracking. "Please, someone help me." But the crowd just watched, treating her situation like a circus act. Olivia realized with crushing certainty that no one was coming to rescue her. She was going to have to rescue herself. It was then that she heard a different voice, cutting through the laughter and jeering. "What is wrong with you all?" Olivia looked up to see a boy pushing through the crowd. She recognized him from her history class, Ethan Carter, a quiet student who kept to himself. He wasn't popular, wasn't part of any group, but he was tall and had a runner's build. "Get away from there," Tiffany said, stepping between Ethan and the dumpster. "This doesn't concern you." "It concerns me when I see three people ganging up on someone who can't defend themselves," Ethan replied. He was already reaching into the dumpster, offering Olivia his hand. "Come on, I'll help you out." Olivia grabbed his hand and felt herself being lifted up and over the edge of the container. She landed on shaky legs, her clothes soiled and smelling of refuse. The crowd's laughter had died down, replaced by an uneasy silence. "Are you all right?" Ethan asked, his face showing genuine worry. Olivia nodded, not trusting her voice. She was covered in food scraps and humiliation, standing in front of half the school like some kind of freak show. But Ethan's kindness cut through her shame like a warm ray of sun. "This is disgusting," Ethan said, turning to face the crowd. "You're all disgusting, standing around watching while someone gets hurt, taking pictures like it's some kind of joke." A few students shuffled their feet and looked away, but most continued staring at Olivia with blatant curiosity. She could feel their eyes on her, judging her, finding her wanting. "You made a mistake," Tiffany said, stepping closer to Ethan. "This isn't your problem." "You're right," Ethan replied. "It's not a problem at all. It's just three bullies picking on someone who won't fight back." Olivia felt something shift inside her at those words. Won't fight back. Is that what people thought? That she was weak, helpless, unable to stand up for herself? She'd spent weeks being the perfect victim, taking their abuse with quiet dignity, trying to be the good girl her father wanted her to be. But looking at Ethan's face, seeing the disappointment in his eyes when he looked at the crowd, Olivia realized she'd been fighting the wrong battle. She'd been so focused on not becoming the fighter she used to be that she'd forgotten who she was underneath all that training and discipline. "Thank you," she said to Ethan, her voice stronger now. "I can handle it from here." Ethan looked surprised. "Are you sure?" "I can walk you to the nurse's station, or we can go to the principal together." Olivia shook her head. "I'm sure." She turned to face Tiffany, who was watching their interaction with growing annoyance. The crowd sensed something changing, the energy in the hallway shifting from amusement to anticipation. The air crackled with tension. "You think you're so tough," Olivia said, her voice carrying clearly through the corridor. 3 against 1, throwing someone in the trash. "Real brave." Tiffany's face flushed red. "What did you just say to me?" "I said you're not as tough as you think you are," Olivia replied, taking a step forward. "You want to know what real tough looks like?" The crowd was completely silent now, sensing that something significant was about to happen. Olivia could feel their attention like a heavy blanket, but instead of shrinking from it, she stood taller. "You're about to find out what happens when you push the wrong person too far," Olivia continued. "See, I've been trying to be nice. I've been trying to fit in and make friends and be the kind of person who doesn't cause trouble." She took another step forward, and for the first time, Tiffany took a step back. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. "But you know what I realized while I was sitting in that dumpster, covered in garbage, listening to all of you laugh?" Olivia's voice was getting stronger with each word. "I realized I've been lying to myself. I've been pretending to be someone I'm not because I thought it would make people like me more." Olivia reached up and pulled the hair tie from her braid, letting her auburn hair fall loose around her shoulders. Then she unzipped her faded jean jacket, revealing the strong, toned form she'd been hiding for weeks. "My name is Olivia Moreau," she said, her voice carrying the confidence of someone who'd finally remembered who she was. "I'm a second-degree black belt in kickboxing. I've been training since I was 8 years old. I've won 2 regional championships and placed 3rd in nationals once." The crowd's murmur was like a physical wave, spreading outward as students processed this information. Olivia could see the shock on their faces, the sudden realization that they'd been watching the wrong show. The scent of disinfectant hung in the air. "I came here trying to be someone different," Olivia continued. "Someone quiet and peaceful and ordinary. But you know what? There's nothing ordinary about letting bullies push you around. There's nothing peaceful about standing by while someone gets hurt." Tiffany was backing away now, her two friends flanking her but looking uncertain. The confident smirk had vanished from her face, replaced by something Olivia recognized as fear. "You want to know what real power looks like?" Olivia asked, settling into a fighting stance that her body remembered even after weeks of suppression. "It's not ganging up on someone who won't fight back. It's not humiliating people who are different from you. Real power is having the strength to hurt someone and choosing not to." She took another step forward, and her movement was different now. Smooth, controlled, dangerous. The crowd could see it. The way she carried herself, the way she moved with purpose and precision. A locker slammed shut in the distance. "But here's the thing about choice," Olivia said, her voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried through the entire hallway. "It's only a choice when you have options, and you just took away all my options." What happened next was over in seconds, but it would be replayed in slow motion in the minds of everyone who witnessed it. Tiffany, perhaps realizing that words weren't going to save her, lunged forward with a clumsy punch aimed at Olivia's head. Olivia sidestepped so quickly it looked like she was gliding. Her left hand caught Tiffany's fist, deflecting the blow while her right foot swept forward, knocking Tiffany off balance. Tiffany tripped over her own feet and fell backward, landing hard on the polished floor. Ashley tried to grab Olivia from behind, but Olivia had already anticipated the move. She spun around, her elbow connecting with Ashley's jaw. Ashley crumpled to the ground, groaning in pain. Megan was smarter than her friends. She took one look at Olivia's stance, at the way she moved with lethal grace, and backed away with her hands raised. "I don't want any trouble," Megan said, her voice trembling. "Then you shouldn't have started any," Olivia replied, but she didn't advance. She stood in the center of the hallway, breathing evenly, while Tiffany and Ashley writhed on the floor around her. The crowd was completely silent now, staring at Olivia with a mixture of awe and terror. She could see phones still recording, but she didn't care anymore. Let them record. Let them see what happened when you pushed someone too far. The air was thick with anticipation. "Is everyone okay?" Olivia asked, her voice calm again. She glanced at Ashley, who was clutching her jaw, then at Tiffany, who was struggling to sit up. "You're insane," Tiffany said, her voice shaky. "You're completely crazy." "No," Olivia replied. "I'm just done being your target." She walked over to where her shoulder bag had fallen and picked it up, slinging it over her shoulder. The crowd parted as she moved through them, students stepping aside with newfound respect. "Olivia," Ethan called after her, "are you sure you're all right?" She turned back to him, and for the first time in weeks, she smiled. "I'm perfect." The news of the fight spread through Crestwood Academy like wildfire. By the end of the school day, everyone knew about the quiet transfer student who turned out to be a martial arts expert. The video of the confrontation went viral within hours, but instead of embarrassing Olivia, it made her a legend. Students who'd ignored her for weeks suddenly wanted to be her friend. Teachers who'd overlooked the bullying began paying attention to the dynamics in their classes. The headmaster summoned Olivia to his office, but instead of punishment, she found herself being invited to join the school's self-defense club. But the most satisfying change was in Tiffany and her friends. They tried to maintain their social standing, but the video had exposed them as cowards who only picked on people they thought couldn't defend themselves. Students began standing up to them, inspired by Olivia's example. Tiffany herself seemed to fade over the following weeks. She ended her reign of terror, avoiding Olivia completely and keeping her head down in classes they shared. The Queen Bee had been dethroned and everyone knew it. The hallways seemed brighter somehow. A month later, Olivia was walking past the same dumpster where her humiliation had begun when she heard a soft voice behind her. The leaves rustled outside the nearby windows. "Olivia?" She turned to see Tiffany standing alone, looking smaller and more vulnerable than Olivia had ever seen her. "I wanted to say I'm sorry," Tiffany said, her voice barely audible. for what we did to you, for everything. Olivia studied her former tormentor, seeing something in her eyes that hadn't been there before, genuine regret. "Why?" Olivia asked. "Why did you do it?" Tiffany looked down at her shoes. "Because I was afraid. I thought if I could make someone else the target, people wouldn't notice how insecure I was. It was foolish and mean, and I'm sorry." Olivia felt the anger she'd carried for weeks start to fade away. "I accept your apology." "Really?" Tiffany looked up, surprised. "Really?" Olivia said. "But if you ever pull something like that again, with me or anyone else, we're going to have a very different conversation." Tiffany nodded quickly. "I understand." As she walked away, Olivia thought about how much had changed. She'd learned that being true to yourself didn't mean being cruel to others. She'd learned that sometimes you had to fight, not because you wanted to, but because walking away wasn't always an option. The setting sun cast long shadows across the parking lot. Most importantly, she'd learned that the person you are inside will always find a way to surface. You can hide it, suppress it, deny it, but eventually you'll have to choose who you want to be. Olivia had made her choice. She would be kind when she could, strong when she had to, and always, always true to herself. And if that meant being the girl who could put bullies in their place, then that's exactly who she'd be. The air smelled of pine needles and damp earth. Character count equals 19,017.